Hey, thanks for checking out my channel. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and it's spooky season. And, well, it tried to be spooky. This is mid-century. I'm a blind film critic, so I review movies that have audio description. I'm grateful when things have audio description, but realistically, everything should. We should not have to choose our content based on accessibility. But I'm reviewing mid-century because it's new to Peacock. I think it's off of a 45-day window. I don't know who released this in theaters. I don't know what's going on here. It's a film. Maybe it went to theaters, maybe it didn't. It just kind of quietly dropped on Peacock. If you don't know what it is, surprisingly has a decent cast. Only because Bruce Dern changes that word to decent. Without Bruce Dern, it has an okay cast, which consists of Shane West, Stephen Lang, and Vanessa Williams, among a bunch of people nobody's ever heard of. So really, it's that Bruce Dern thing, that I think is going to pull some people in. But let me tell you, I don't know why he's in this. It's a nothing role. It's a role that I'm not even really 100% sure why it's in the film. I don't think it needed to be there. This film feels like a Mad Libs, or like somebody took a bunch of different ideas for horror films and then threw them inside of a jar, and they drew out like 3 or 4, and at first somebody was like, I don't think those will work, and somebody was like, I'll do it, we're gonna make it work. And they made this film, and the best and most non-spoilery way to describe this movie for you would be to say that it's a couple that rent a house and will learn to regret it. That's about right. There's some other stuff that connects in. There's a plot line about an architect. This guy's Shane West is an architect, and he's staying in this house because it was designed by this guy who's this supposedly like legendary architect, and he's like, just going nuts. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in this house. And so I guess the other through line here is never meet your idols. Maybe would be that. It's a film that is multiple things. It tries to do this thing where it doesn't want to. I went into this not knowing anything about it, first of all. And the film is very unclear as to what it wants to be in the beginning anyway. And weird things are happening. And things don't even really make sense to the plot of the story. I don't even think it's a spoiler. I will just say there's a character that's killed off that was irrelevant to the entire movie. Like, their existence within the film was irrelevant, but yet a character risked being exposed at all to kill off what is essentially a glorified extra. And it's not one of those movies too where it's like a serial killer that just enjoys killing for the sake of killing. It's just this scene. And then later on, when the movie's over, you realize the significance, and you're like, wait, what? I don't understand. And there's this thing that you keep hearing throughout the film, that no one can know. And you're like, ooh, this is going to be something. I mean, sort of. It's just kind of repeated a lot. I'd say the film has a nice twist in it, but then the film kind of becomes stupid. So I don't really know what to do with that. There was a point in the film where you don't realize what you've been watching, and then the film is like, oh, we got you, but you didn't know you got 15 minutes ago. Then you're like, wait, what? And the character's like, what? And then you're like, what? And so it goes back and it like explains to you, but it doesn't really explain to you. It takes a while because it tries to like, even then, it like doesn't want to tell you how it got you. It's like, we got you. You know you've been got. We're not going to show you. It's like a magic trick. And it's such a very weird film. And I don't know if it's the writing or the direction on this, but I don't know that the acting is the problem here, because the script doesn't really give them much to work with. Are there jump scares? Sure, I guess. There's attempted jump scares. It just depends on how much you jump. There's one that's, I would call, it got me only because it ended up being a loud sound. And so, you know how like random loud sounds, they're kind of cheap in horror movies? Yeah, one of those, I jumped a little, but I wasn't like scared. I was just like, oh, that's a loud noise. Yeah, I was never scared of this film at all. I'm sorry. I've seen worse this year, which is really weird, because at least this film, I was interested. I kept going like, what is going on? What is happening in this film? What is this film about? And they keep like throwing these things at you, and you're like, okay, so is this film gonna get, oh, this film is gonna get interesting. I can feel it. This film is gonna come to some sort of weird ass climax at the end. And it kind of does, but then it also kind of just decides not to. It's a very odd film. In a bad way, like it just makes, it seems to want to take it, like it seems to know where the choices are and the good ones to take. It just doesn't take any of them. It kind of takes, like for a second, like it goes over it, it peeks its head into the good idea, and it's like, oh, hey, look over here, we got a good idea. We're not going to use it though. We're going to go over here instead. And it's just yeah, it's very weird. It's an uncomfortable film. I could spoil the whole thing for you, and I don't think you would care, because I don't think anybody's really going to watch this. But at the same time, this film is something that could get spoiled really easily just by talking about it. This film has several plot points that it needs to hide from the audience in order for it to work. So basically, this is an Airbnb horror story, which is hilarious, because I'm also about to review Barbarian, because like this dropped on Peacock and then Barbarian dropped on HBO Max, and they're both like the same, like, don't rent houses. You know, I mean, they're both like the same story, but this one has got to be worth. I haven't seen Barbarian yet. I've heard some things. I know what I'm in for. It's got to be a better film than this. This is not great. So if you look at IMDb, it's whoa. I wish I could do the Joey Lawrence from Blossom whoa. But it's that kind of whoa. It's like, whoa. Yeah, it has like a 3.3 on IMDb right now, which is it's like eating shards of glass, is basically like, that's kind of like where IMDb is. It's the critical equivalent of food poisoning, somewhere down in there. If you get below a 4 on IMDb, I mean, the movies that are down there with you are not, they're like Plan 9 from Outer Space. You know, they're just a whole bunch of things that, so 3.3 is not a good score to have. I don't know that it needs to be that low, but yeah, I'm not mad at it. I can understand. I just have seen worse films this year. I just think that those people who maybe thought it was a 3.3 were like, oh, this is the worst thing I've seen this year. And it's like, I wish I could say that. If this was the worst thing I saw this year, I'd be so happy. I recognize it's not a good film. I recognize it has problems. I recognize that it doesn't necessarily make sense. There are parts of it that you're just like, but how? And then why? And then how many people live in this town? First of all, like, how many police officers are there? There seem to be two, and then a police chief. Like, that's it. The whole film hinges upon there being like two police officers and one police chief. So, and like one of them has to be really bad at his job too. In order, like they've got these two characters. They've got one cop that you'll end up liking and rooting for because she seems legitimately wanting to do her job. And then the other guy's just like, I need my tacos. Come on, we're going. I need to get some tacos. I'm just like, and it's not a comedy either. It's just, there's this guy who just, he's like, oh, don't waste your time. Oh, God. Like, anyway. This movie has some themes, and it doesn't land them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the writer-director. I know that this is kind of like the biggest break that you've had, and I'm sure it was super exciting to have Bruce Dern and Stephen Lang and people like that on set with you, but I don't know what to tell you. I guess try again, but just try to have better ideas. I don't know how to be more nice about that. As far as the audience for this, don't worry about it. You don't need to watch it. Interestingly, Peacock let me watch the credits for this, which is the second time only ever it's let me watch the credits to a film. So I did get to see and learn about the company that did the narration, but otherwise the narration is fine. The narration is not really the problem. It points out all of the possibly creepy things. Some of them just kind of go unexplained. There's this one moment where I still don't know why or who or what, but there was like a hand that was reaching out of the back seat, but it wasn't like a I don't know whose that was. It tries to like hint that there are ghosts, but then once you get to the end of the film and you know what everything is, you're like, then what the fuck was that? There's a couple things where you look back on it and you're like, what was that? Who was that? What was going on there? What was happening? And that's kind of what occurs. So it does let you know that there are things that are happening, but at the same time, by the time the movie's over, you're left with just this weird sense of, what did I just watch? So yeah, the audio description helped me by telling me, is the film gory? A little bit. I won't lie. This is not a hard R by any means. It's got some violence. It's not the worst violence in the world. It's actually rather tame for a horror movie, if we're being 100% honest. And it is, I don't know, it's got some suggested sexual content that would happen. So, or without spoiling anything, that's about as far as I can go with that. So yeah, it's about all you need to know. I don't know what else to tell you about Mid-Century. I feel bad because I can't tell you much because things start becoming spoilers, and then this film lives on you not knowing. And as soon as you start to know things, the film is entirely uninteresting. The only interesting thing about this film is the journey that it goes on. But then the problem is at the end, you'll be like, I don't understand what that was. So I'm going to give Mid-Century a D+. Yeah, it's not the worst film I've seen this year, but I definitely cannot recommend this. Anyway, if you have Peacock and you've run out of things to do, there you go. Also, if you stayed this long through the review, I'm trying to get more subscribers. I'm trying to get to 100 this year. I'm at 80, so if I get like 10 a month between now and the end of the year, I'll get there. So if you could click that subscribe button, that'd be great. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. I have a Twitter, as long as Elon Musk lets me have one, at macthemovieguy.com. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite TV shows and movies, as long as it's been uploaded, because it is user uploaded. So head on over there. That's it from me today. And I gotta review something else. And I will see you guys on the other side.